Tropical Acres Steakhouse.
Hold the Mayo. It's time for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Find out what's being served with Mike, Beefo, and Lubie, the only show that covers food, sports, and the proper maintenance of your car. And now, a man who had the distinction of having an entire health clinic named in his honor, Mike Mayo.
I want the flim sauce with the awesome fave, with shafafa on the side.
Good afternoon, and happy Monday, and happy MLK Day, and happy holiday if you're off from work or school today. Although, if you're in school, are you really watching Mike Mayo's Lunchbox ever?
No, you're
Probably not.
I would say no.
Here we are. It is me, Michael Mayo, and joined by him, Mike Lubie Lubitz. We don't see any Defo, and unfortunately, he is a late scratch today. I guess we say he's under the weather or over the moon, or I don't know what happened to him. Is he hurting? I'm concerned about his health. He seems to be having a lot of. It's a cold.
This cold that remember he had came back again.
It came back. It's a boomerang.
Weekend. Yeah, over the weekend.
Has he ever gotten a COVID test? The man refuses to take a COVID test. I don't know when his last vaccine was. I don't know, but I'm worried about him because he's in his 70s, and as much as I eat and as poor, as poor a job I do of taking care of my body, I do take my health seriously. So I am fully boosted and vaccinated. I've had 5 shots. I take COVID testing seriously because I live with my 90-year-old mother. So once a week I swab my nostrils because I'm out and about a lot, and there are new waves of variants and all that. But this is not a health show. This is a food show, and it's a sports show. So what am I doing? Lubie, save me from myself. How are you? How was your weekend?
It was good. We did a lot of lounging, a lot of laying around, watched a lot of football, both good and bad. And I'm happy to pay homage to a man that had a lot to do with changing this country today, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So I'm glad this day exists, and I hope people are using it to not only have time off, but reflect on, the man that this day is for.
So it's it is a wonderful day to pay tribute to an American, I would call him an American revolutionary. He wasn't in the 1700s with the patriots of the founding fathers, but he helped move this nation into the 20th century. And now here we are in the 20th century, and the 21st century, and we still have the same, seems like, racial issues and problems. But obviously, he contributed a big push towards equality and getting things done, which now some people are trying to undo. But in any event, and I'm just struck by it because remember, there was some states were really tooth and nail against making this a holiday, and the feds made it a federal holiday. And remember when Arizona, for whatever reason that Arizona was balking at making it an official holiday, and then in return the NFL boycotted Arizona and I think pulled the Super Bowl. And I could be making all of this up, but I seem to recall this from the 90s when I was a sports columnist. But it's in my foggy brain somewhere. And now Arizona finally came on board, and this year's Super Bowl will be in Glendale, Arizona, at this fancy new luxury stadium that they built. And unfortunately, for the 100th consecutive year, the Dolphins will not be going as participants, maybe as spectators. But we're going to talk a little bit of wrapping up the whole football Sunday, and also want to wrap up the Visit Lauderdale Food and Wine Fest.
That's what I wanted to say, because we started our weekend off with the barbecue battle.
Yeah,
which again was won by our friend Ed, who this show, the Devo show may not be a good luck charm, but this show seems to be. We have people come on and they seem to do big things after this show. So congrats to Ed. And
I call it the bump, the lunchbox bump or bounce or whatever you want to call it. But it seems like everybody that we featured on this show in the weeks leading up to the big Visit Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival. And by the way, congrats to Phil and Kate. They're the organizers. They've had a rough road. I mean, they had this vision to start this festival to kind of escape the shadow of the South Beach, which, look, nobody's begrudging South Beach. And Lee Schrager, a friend of mine, he's the founder, executive director of that. It's turned into this behemoth, and they do a lot of good, raising a lot of money for that hospitality and food program at FIU, Florida International University, the Chaplin School of Hospitality, and they've raised millions and millions of dollars. The festival has spawned into this, this 100 different events, a monster. And, people in Broward and specifically with Visit Lauderdale, they said, hey, we don't want to be just kind of a stepsister, redheaded stepchild, and just kind of shoehorned in and have a couple of events as part of that. They wanted to kind of create their own thing. And Kate and Phil, got to give them props because they had the vision. They started it, it was hard getting buy-in like 4 years ago, and they started it in the main event. The big grand tasting was in the park in Hollywood. Actually, I think they call it the Arts Park now in Hollywood. But it was a lovely time the first year, but kind of smaller. Then COVID came along and totally kind of scrapped it one year, and then last year it was making a comeback. And then the Omicron wave came out, and like there was supposed to be 50 restaurants participating in the grand tasting, and all of them had not all of them, but like I think about 20 restaurants at the last minute that last week had to pull out because everybody was sick. This year, everything went smoothly. Again, the weather, even though it was a little bit chilly on Saturday for the grand tasting, it warmed up. Everybody came bundled up with their jackets, and it was fine out there on Saturday. But like you said, the weeks leading up to it, and we were fortunate enough to, have a partnership with them to help try to sell them some tickets and get some of the great different restaurateurs and other people who came to do demonstrations and be part of the whole festivities, like Jason Smith, who used to be on Food Network and now is on A&E with some of his shows. He's a personality, and Ingrid Hoffman. They did some demonstrations and judging, and but they were on the show. And we had a show at S3, right? And that restaurant, and we met that great new young talented chef Lindsay Waters, and her bite at the grand tasting, the salmon crudo that had like the ginger and a little bit of the chili oil and some of that won the judges award for best bite.
Nice.
It had, all that multi-layer. I think we sampled it when we were over there. It was great. I mean, it was just a party in your mouth. So that won the judges award. And then our friends Brad and Dave from Even Keel, they won the People's Choice Award at the grand tasting on Saturday.
Nice.
Because they followed my advice. Brad is
I'm
smart,
surprised.
and we do a monthly show
Yep.
at Even Keel, longtime friends of the show. And we're going to be there a week from Wednesday to celebrate their win. I know that Brad was tickled pink, and I gave the advice when I saw the weather report was going to be like in the 50s or maybe a high of 60 and windy. I said, whoever brings chowder or soup,
Do a soup.
you're going to be pretty popular. And sure enough, what did Brad do? Well, he saw the weather report in the middle of the week, and a lot of times they have to make 1,500. These festivals are crazy because all the restaurants are told, they're giving a small budget and allotment to buy some food, but they're told you got to make 1,500 portions. And you think, what is, easy to make for 1,500 portions? That's why a lot of people do the little ceviches in the cup, and there's some other things that are readily available but soup is really easy if you get just a little, just get a big vat of soup and you keep ladling it out into these little cups. And people on Saturday, Brad was out there and they made this. It was a coconut curry pumpkin soup with a little bits of shredded spiny lobster. Spiny lobster is the Bahamian or the Florida lobster.
Yeah.
And they cooked up a bunch of lobster tails, and they shredded it up, and they put a little bits in the soup, and it was a smash hit. It was funny because I was at the judges table. They want, I guess there were like 5 or 6 judges out there who are secret. And then we send in our top 3 picks, and then somebody collates it and makes the judges award. And as I was chatting with other judges, I was saying, oh, so what was your favorite bite? And I was about to send in mine. I had my top 3, and somebody said, oh my God, that soup from Even Keel. And I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot that Brad and Dave were going to be there, that
Oh,
Even Keel
you're
was
not excited.
represented. And I was like, what soup? I missed the whole row. There were like
Oh,
60 different things. And I thought I hit every row around that whole area. And the complex was beautiful the way they had it set up. They blocked off a couple of the road on Las Olas Boulevard leading to the beach for 2 blocks, along with that beachfront, whatever they call the beach park there. Great setup. But I missed this row that had like 10 restaurants. So I had to go sprint. I said, give me 10 more minutes. And I went sprinting down there, and like I shovel in, there was some pizza from Sicilian Oven, and there was a couple other bites from some of the other restaurants, and a couple of more crudos and ceviches. And then I came upon Brad. I said hello, and I told him I missed him, and I almost totally didn't get the bite, and I took a slurp of it. Now, the funny part is, don't like coconut. I I like curry. I'm not averse to those Indian flavors. Some people don't like it and find it strong, but I don't like coconut, and I hate pumpkin. But I took a sip of this, and the mark of a good chef, a really talented chef, is when they take ingredients that you don't ordinarily like or that you would always avoid, and you take a sip and you put on your critic's hat and say, all right, enough of my personal subjectivity, and you just take a sip of it and you go, my God, that's delicious. And it was. I just started chugging it,
nice.
and then I rearranged my ballot. And even though there's sponsors, and all right, is
Yeah,
there a
yeah,
conflict? Nah. I mean, I'm
yeah.
able to I could put things aside. I could tell when one of our sponsors doesn't bring their A game, but this was their A game, and I redid my ballot. And even though they didn't get the judges award, and S3 was number 2, it was the number 1 bite that until I tasted the soup. So my top 2 both got awarded. So maybe my taste buds, as much as Tiffany tries to denigrate me and calls me a weird cat, and yeah, I'm a slob, and I'll guzzle jarred spaghetti sauce straight from the jar, and I'll eat Skyline chili, and I'll have cake from a vending machine and eat it with my fingers like a 1-year-old. But sometimes my taste buds know what they're talking about and what they're doing and what they're tasting. And those 2 bites, again, the people's choice. It was easy. Just make soup when it's 60 degrees and people are going to be happy. And I got to give credit because our friends at Mystic Lobster, which we featured on a Visit Lauderdale segment with Neki Mohan, they were also smart enough. And again, they have a smash hit because people love lobster rolls. They did a little bit of a lobster roll along with a lobster bisque. So they had the right idea in having a partial amount,
Yep.
and they did a warm Connecticut lobster roll dunked in the hot butter. So they went on the warm side of the street too. I was surprised because I thought people love lobster rolls so much, and the line was like
Yeah.
down the block the whole day. That I thought they might get people's choice, but actually, good for Brad and Dave and Even Keel celebrating a big victory in that grand
Do
tasting
they
with
get a
their
bell too?
delicious.
What do you get for
I don't
winning?
know what they get. I'll have to ask Kate and Phil, but I know that Brad was tickled pink when I texted him the news, and then one of the publicists that we've been working with didn't get a chance to taste it, so I ran back over after I heard the results, and Brad was nice enough to give me a full quart of the soup, and I brought
Nice.
it over to Susan, and because she didn't get a chance to taste it, and I gave it to her, and then she thanked me yesterday. So anyway, everything was great, and besides the bump of Even Keel, our normal sponsor, got an award. We had S3 that we featured, got an award. At the barbecue battle, we talked to Ed Randolph again about defending his title, and he did get the judges award for a second straight year. He made another delicious
Yeah, the
pastrami style beef rib. Yeah. So what did you guys think, Shirley and you?
barbecue
Did you
battle
enjoy
was
it?
great. It sucked. Saturday we ended up having a lot of things going on, so we couldn't go. And that ended up in the grand tasting. And she loves Sicilian Oven, so I didn't even want to hear about Saturday because I really wanted to go there. But it was okay because Friday was really cool. And
And there was a lot of booze on Saturday. I mean, you could get just completely spit-faced if you wanted. I had to go out and eat 40, 50 different bites, so I had to keep myself in check. I did a little wine tasting out there on Saturday, and they had some really good wines and some interesting ones. They had a bunch from the Finger Lakes region of New York that came in, and they were working with our friends Sam and Kaushal from Primo. And I see Sam is on the line here. It was good seeing him at a bunch of the events. And but there was this. I didn't realize that New York now, I guess because of global warming, they're able to produce. It used to just be known for ice wines, the sweet ice wine. The Finger Lakes region also for like the German Rieslings, some of the
yeah,
sweeter wines.
cold,
But
sweet
now
ice.
they're making some drier white wines, and they actually had some red wines that tasted pretty decent, a
Oh, wow.
Cabernet and a Meritage, a blend. And the woman was there, was pouring, and there was some bottles that were available by special order at Primo Liquors. And that best wine, usually not a white wine drinker, but there was one of their varietals was a dry Riesling, so German style Riesling, but dry, not sweet. And
Mhm.
it tasted like any kind of the best French white wine, Loire, Chablis type wine.
It's
And it
impressive.
was $35 a bottle. I almost ordered 2 bottles, and then I remembered I'm almost flat broke again after paying all my bills. But that was delicious. But yeah, but like you said, on Friday night there
Friday
was
was
some
great.
good cocktails also. Did you have any of the
There
rum
was good
concoctions?
wine. There was some good whiskey. There was this Chinola, which was a passion fruit alcohol from this group out of Miami that is straight out of Dominican Republic, and that touched my wife's heartstrings. They had a prosecco that was really good. That was a low sugar prosecco. So the alcohols were really good, and then the spirits and the food was great, and it was really well done. We were the
No,
lines
give
weren't
him props because everything was organized. I mean, all right, couple of nitpicks here and there. I heard some grumbling, like at the grand tasting. I don't know if there were porta potties set up like on the other side
that's the
along the
situation.
first entrance, but there was like a regular bricks and mortar bathroom near where the VIP section was, but outside of the VIP, like everybody could use it, but it was because it was bricks and mortar. I guess everybody would rather go there than a porta
Yeah,
potty,
yeah,
and so the lines there were pretty long all day. But that's just an infrastructure issue. You can't change that. They did have porta potties. It was just people would rather go inside. But yeah, when it came to the actual food, the food and the wine and everything, I heard nothing but rave reviews, and the thing keeps growing. And look, those years during COVID, it was really a struggle for
yeah, it
them. I
sucks.
mean, I know I've gotten to know them as friends, and they've been nice enough. And they were both driving Uber Eats during the pandemic because they just didn't have a show. They didn't have a festival that one year, and just to kind of make ends meet. And hey, I drove Uber Eats for a couple days too during the pandemic, just when I was bored, just to kind of check it out and do it. And God knows I might have to be doing it again soon. But yeah, no, I mean, there's no shame in that. Everybody wants their food and they want it delivered now.
Yeah,
But it's um, it's just a testament to you stick to something, and this thing is really growing. It's getting buy-in, and really made me proud as a Broward and Greater Fort Lauderdale resident to see that we do have our own thing, and it is growing. And talking to a number of the chefs, they're saying the same thing, that they're tired of having to Miami, you know, uh,
yeah,
and it's nice to have their own food festival on the map. So kudos to everybody involved. Congratulations to Ed Randolph, and again, the People's Choice Award winners. There was good diversity at that barbecue battle in terms of just the local representation and the different styles.
yeah. They did a lot of different
And
stuff. You didn't just see
yeah,
ribs or
no,
uh,
sometimes you go and it's just all pulled pork and it's
brisket.
all brisket, but this was
No, they
a
did some
good
different stuff.
variety. And there was also effective use of putting a South Florida spin or a Caribbean spin, the
Yep,
local
yep.
flavors into the barbecue, which is what I know as a judge is what I like to see.
Mhm.
Um, and specifically, this couple of guys from the Southern Barbecue won the People's Choice in the barbecue battle, and I was really happy to see that. And I was chatting with the gentleman who runs it. They don't have a brick and mortar. They don't even have a truck anymore. They used to. They're doing strictly catering now out of a commissary, but they're working on getting kind of to their next phase. And a win like this really kind of helps put them on the map. It'll help them with getting some investors. So really happy to see them get their due, because what they did is they kind of had a shredded, I guess they called it a beef flap
Yeah,
that they smoked and chopped up, but then they get put again the island vibe spin, not islands, I'm sorry, South American spin, because they had like a chimichurri sauce
yes.
along with the grilled onions, and good
Yep, those
flavor, and a
onions.
lot of people loved it. The other thing I liked there that got also cited among the top three for the People's Choice was my friend Greg McGowan, the chef at the Hyatt Centric Hotel there. And he has a restaurant at the bottom level right next to Eddie V's. Everybody goes to Eddie V's. I don't hear any buzz about Harborwood Urban Kitchen, where Chef Greg is the executive chef. And he's a talented guy. I met him first at John Offerdahl's Gridiron Grill Off. He used to take He used to take part in that. We first met, and he's a good dude. And keep apologizing because I haven't been into his restaurant yet. But he'd made also a no, that was, Ron, but the Chef Greg made it was that, I think it was also like a beef rib, but he put it on that, not the tostone, but it was a plantain arepa, and that's why I like the texture of it. Do you remember that one?
That's not
It was a beef rib. It had kind of a jerk and island
okay.
flavoring, but he put it on top of a plantain arepa, and it had a
Okay.
good consistency, better than the tostones that I don't usually like,
Yeah.
and he got 3rd place, and then among the judges there was this Captain Ron. He's goes into a lot of barbecue competitions. He doesn't sell to the public or anything. He just likes to compete. He has a big following on social media. I think he calls himself Captain Ron with the green egg. He does a lot of his smoking in a green egg. Well, he went with the salmon route, and he kind
Shirley
of
loved
it wasn't
and it caught me off
yeah, and
guard.
just
I wasn't thinking salmon, but Shirley loved it.
right. Well, a lot of people, when they again were just surprised to see anything that's involving seafood, and this was a nice change of pace. It wasn't particularly smoked; it was just kind of thrown on a grill. It was a grilled
Yes.
salmon, but it had a great flavor, and he did something different, which I don't know if it completely worked because he put a tomato bruschetta on top with some shaved Parmesan and basil. It's again different flavor profile than you're used to with salmon. But just the fact that he went the seafood route alone, it, I guess, pleased a lot of people, and he got cited in the top 3 among the judges. And the other thing that was surprising and absolutely delicious was the that taco. Remember the people from
Shirley loved it. I don't like it sucked because it had a I'm not a big jalapeno guy, but
yeah, well, this was the
stuff out.
Be Nice Restaurant Group, which is headed by our friend Elliot Wolf. They have a bunch of different restaurants, including Coconuts on the Intracoastal there in Fort Lauderdale, and that G&B Oyster Bar. They also have Top Hat Deli. They have the Lunch Room, not to be confused with the Lunch Box, but the Lunch Room, which is right next to our friend at Wicked Cheesesteak. But this Lunch Room also has it's a breakfast and lunch sandwich joint, and but part of what they do, they used to have a barbecue restaurant called Red Cow, and that folded, but Red Cow still exists in having some menu items at some of their different restaurants, along with they have a food stand at that wharf. I don't know if you've ever been to the wharf downtown Fort Lauderdale. It's hip, it's like all the 20
area,
somethings
the
go
wide
there.
open area with the
Yeah.
DJs and the food
And I think Brad and Dave at one point, even Keel had a stand there. They sold
that place is
stuff on
fun.
the weekends. And but the Be Nice group, the Red Cow, they put together for the barbecue battle it was a smoked chorizo that they chopped up and they put it in a jalapeno pepper. So it was a stuffed jalapeno with chorizo, and which they then folded into a taco, and they used a good corn tortilla, like quality corn tortilla, soft one. Sorry, Defo, but
That was Shirley.
uh,
She loved that.
it was good. It was really good bite, and I'm usually not a big taco fan, but that also made the finalists in terms of the top 3. So, and again, that was classic barbecue there. Ed Randolph, who was on the show from Handsome
Okay, so
Devil.
I didn't want to put it on blast, but I'll do it on blast here. I'm not a huge carrot cake guy, so I don't know if they made it or not. That's why I didn't really shout it out or post it anywhere. But they, along with the ribs, that was
He did the pastrami
interesting.
beef rib, yeah,
Pastrami
and
beef rib,
he
and
stripped
it's
the beef part from the rib, and then he stacked all the bones up like a big Jenga game. It was kind of cool the way it
it
came
was
out
really
at
cool.
the end.
And they had a sausage that was really good with like
Yeah,
cheese.
a jalapeno cheddar sausage, which is a classic Texas. A
That was
lot of the
amazing.
barbecue joints in Texas have that, and that
And
was a
then they had
nice
carrot cake,
in a
and it was
cup.
in like a little cup, but
Yeah,
it was great. Like it tasted like a
see,
cheesecake, and I don't know if
right.
they made it or not. So that's why I didn't really
I don't know where
publicize
he
it.
got it from, and as a judge, I never know like are you judging all 3 components and how it
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
out as a package, or I'm kind of a
I
purist
love
and I'm focusing on it's a barbecue battle. I'm thinking what are the grilled and smoked and barbecued items. That's where I do my judging on, and there was another competitor in there. It's a something called like Battle Rig Barbecue. I haven't heard of them. They're a food truck out of Pembroke Pines. They had a huge line all night long. They did a brisket that I thought was nice. It was a little bit drier. It could have been moister, but the bark on it was excellent because I took a little, sometimes when I'm in line, I do things I shouldn't. I saw there was a piece of that bark that fell off. It's just like that blackened edge with spice. I just picked it up with my fingers and ate it, and it was good. But that was the one that had, besides the brisket, they had that mac and cheese with the candied bacon on it, and that
Yep,
was
yep, yep.
really good.
That was good.
And then Mr. Lee's Barbecue, who's won the battle up the boxing and brisket up in Delray with our man from Red Meat Lovers Club, Evan. By the way, they're having another one of those boxing and barbecue battles at the end of the month on January 26th. So for those of you, I'll be up there judging that one too, but Mr. Lee's will be there. And Mr. Lee's did well on Friday night at the barbecue battle. He also had I think this time he also went with short rib instead of brisket, and he did with like a cherry, kind of like a cherry gastrique type of thing on top, and he also had a dessert that was good. It was a cornbread, like a cornbread on the
That was really
side.
good. That cornbread was great.
Um, there was all kinds of good stuff. But oh yeah, so Red Meat Lovers Club, if you go onto their website, rmlc.com, January 26th, they're going to be back at that Delray Boxing Center for another barbecue battle. So I can't get enough good smoked meat. So that's going to be good. Um, and yeah, and then the ultimate lunchbox bounce is that we helped them do early sellouts. Like all their
Yes,
big
everything
ticket
was sold
events
out.
were sold
Last
out. Like, I thought we were going to be pushing the final tickets for the grand tasting with Ingrid Hoffman last week and Jason Smith. Everything was already sold out, so it was kind of like all was gravy. And the specialty little intimate dinners did well. So again, job well done. I had a blast
I
being
had a
at all the different
blast.
things, particularly on that cocktail competition Wednesday night. Had great energy. It was just so much fun, and of course, everybody was lit by the end, including me. But that was lot of fun. So, job well done to Kate
Yeah,
and
Kate and Phil, good job. You
Phil,
all,
and looking forward to I'm
yeah,
sure they're getting feedback and taking everybody's feedback, and we'll be making it even better next year.
sir.
So, yeah, thanks to them, and that was great. Hey, uh, I guess it's time we should talk about our friends at Tropical Acres Steakhouse. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
It's a Tropical Acres Monday, and Monday night means half price wine night. And you might find me there later today because I love going to Tropical Acres. It's at 2500 Griffin Road, and it's the place to go for great steaks and seafood, chops, all the things that you could possibly want in a nice evening out, whether it's a special occasion or any occasion. Go to Tropical Acres. Go to tropicalacres.com to look for their upcoming specials and events, and go to the restaurant itself at 2500 Griffin Road, just west of the airport 95. Well, Butcher Shop is open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and that's always good, especially on these holidays because you could just go pick up a couple of steaks to throw on the grill at home if you're into that, or throw it into the broiler if it's too cold outside. But better yet, go in there at 4:30 p.m. when they first open up. The bar has happy hour for the first 2 hours, where you get those incredible half-price drink specials along with light bites for $5 and $6. Happy hour is every day except Saturday. And of course, the restaurant is closed on Sunday. Early bird special 4:30 to 5:30, and then the regular dining menu every day but Sunday. Incredible value there. You get a small piece of filet mignon for under $30 with a salad and a side dish. Can't beat the deal. Can't beat the hospitality, and of course, can't beat half price wine night because they have
Night.
a great list. Great list that's always fairly priced, and you've seen it for
Yep,
yourself,
yep,
Lubie.
yep.
I mean, you get these deals
Cheaper
where
than going
even
to a
if
liquor store.
yeah, and when you go in there on a Monday or Tuesday and you get a half price bottle and you end up paying only $20 or $21 instead of $40, it is cheaper than you get at a liquor store, like our friends at Primo. I mean, it's so they're encouraging you to have a good time, and you
Yes.
will at Tropical Acres, the prime rib, the filet mignon, the rack of lamb, the lobster, the scallops, anything you want. Go in there, see the Studiali family. They're masters of hospitality, and tell them that the lunchbox sent you.
And you'll get more Lunchbox as we continue to recap a great Visit Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival weekend. We'll talk a little bit about the NFL playoffs that got kickstarted.
Yes,
And
we'll get into the sports portion because I know some of our audience doesn't like the sports, but Defo is out sick today. There was no morning sports Defo talk on the South Florida Live networks, and I'm a former sports columnist, so why not? We'll talk about
there's always food tie-ins when it comes to
Oh
sporting events.
yeah, guess where I spent yesterday watching the games, the first game anyway.
Look like shenanigans.
Friends at shenanigans. Pat Utter was not there. He was away with the weekend for the holiday, with the family for a holiday weekend. But I was texting him, and he was nice enough to take care of me and my friend that came in there.
Oh wow!
Which it was always a pleasant treat, and even a better treat was it was a really competitive, fun game to watch, and the place was packed, and people were going nuts. Great energy there, along with great wings and all that at Shenanigans. And now their one location is at 1300 South Federal Highway. But we'll talk more about the delicious football food that I had over the weekend, along with some of the game action, great game action too, after these words on the Lunchbox. People come to me and say, Mike, where should I go out to eat? I got guests coming from out of town. Where should we go? Cafe Seville. That's the answer. 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. It's a Fort Lauderdale perennial. It's serving the finest in Spanish and continental cuisine in a cozy, friendly, comfortable setting. Joey Esposito and Sally, his better half, they've been running the place for a long time. It's been open since the 1980s. They got great Spanish classics like paella, shrimp with garlic sauce, and all kinds of great seafood dishes. The stuffed veal chop, oh, that's my favorite. Go to Cafe Seville. It's open every day but Sunday at 5 p.m. for dinner. Tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent you. Do you like burgers? Do you like wings? Do you like late night food and sports on big screen TVs and cold beer and friendly vibe and great people? Then you want to check out Shenanigans, 1300 South Federal Highway in Dania Beach. You go to Shenanigans, you get yourself all the good stuff, the fresh fish every day, the blackened grilled wings, and of course, the kitchens are open late. Go there, tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent. And we're back on the Lunchbox, and I forgot to mention we have a contest tiebreaker to conduct.
Yes,
today.
I was going to say we had to pick
top
our
of the show. Of course, Friday we were out at Gulfstream. I had a blast out there as usual, and we got fed well as usual, even though we didn't get a chance to visit with our man Joe. He's been tied up getting ready for the big Pegasus Stakes, the big showcase of best horses around the world, along with great entertainment. That's going to be coming up on January 28th, Saturday, January 28th. But we had another contest, and we might as well get to it this week.
Let's do it.
The thing is, people keep entering. It's nice to see it has some traction. People get it. And actually, we had our first winner actually went and partook of the Sunday brunch yesterday.
Nice.
Ira Rubin, he sent me a very nice note saying that everything went very smoothly. They had his name for him and his guest there. Everything was taken care of as they said it would be, and somebody checked up on them. Actually, he said he was off making some losing wagers in the middle of when I think Joe must have dropped by just to see how things were going, but it's a nice touch. And he said everything went well.
Because Andy Man asked, and I'm like, I feel like Mayo's explained this quite often, but they tell you when, right? They go through you to set up the time, or they can just go whenever.
Yeah, if you just again, whoever is a past winner, and I think we've had 5 of them now. I'm keeping a sheet somewhere, but basically, just get in touch with me with the preferred date any Sunday between now and the end of April, and you go in there at 11 o'clock. But I will give the name of you with a +1, and they'll have it right there at the front. We might give you a secret passcode too, so that nobody could just kind of walk in and pretend to be somebody. But no, it's pretty simple, and so far so good. And Ira Rubin said no complaints. He ate well, and he had fun. He did not have a profitable day, but he felt like a winner because he got a free brunch. And we on the Lunchbox like to disprove the adage that there's no such thing as a free lunch or free brunch because we do it all the time. All right. So last week's, and I got some very nice emails from people who just appreciate having the contest and
Nice.
appreciate the show. So thank you for sending the positive feedback. In the world of haters, it's nice to get some positive recognition. So
How
and
did it
thanks.
go this week? How many people got the restaurant right? And then how
So
many?
it seemed like, okay, I didn't know. Thankfully, we didn't have to get into I was going to have to ask about some, judges' technicality decisions because the name of the restaurant, and I gave these clues, it was a famous Boca place back in the 70s and 80s. And it moved and then had some
I remember the Fort Lauderdale.
incarnation. But, it's never in Fort Lauderdale. And that's the thing. Some people put the name of the restaurant was Tom's Place. Tom's Place. Some people put Tom Jenkins. No, that's not the
Oh, it
answer.
wasn't Tom Jenkins. Oh, then I would have gotten it wrong. I was thinking Tom
No,
Jenkins.
it's Tom's Place. It was the name
Place.
Tom and I think it was Belinda Wright was the mom. I'm not sure. That might have been the daughter. I'm getting confused. No, Tom and Helen Wright, and Belinda was the daughter who tried to bring it back a couple of years ago. But
So Tom Jenkins wasn't in Boca. So then if you
No,
won Tom Jenkins, you're wrong.
Tom Jenkins has been in Fort Lauderdale a long time, and Tom Jenkins and his partner used to work for IBM, and then they started a side gig at doing barbecue on the roadside out of a drum, and it was so popular that they ended up leaving IBM and opened Tom Jenkins in Fort Lauderdale. God, that must be almost 20 years
I
ago.
think it's still open. Yeah.
And it's still open. It's still going. I think it's being run by his son now. But Tom Jenkins is not Tom's Place. That was Tom
Okay.
Wright.
I would have gotten it wrong.
So, all right. And some people put Tom's Ribs. Some people but anyway, all those people, and I think we had about 50 or 60 entrants this week. They all had variations of Tom's, but I didn't have to disqualify anybody. And again, somebody sent in an entry at 12:07 p.m. But thankfully they didn't have the winning horse because then it would have been like, oh, am I going to be a stickler? But noon is noon.
Noon is
Please
noon.
get your entries in on time. So again, somebody sent one in at 3:30. Somebody sent one in again on Sunday night. And that one didn't have even the horse selected, so they didn't get it. 2 parts to this contest to win 2 brunch passes at Gulfstream. One, every week we have a restaurant trivia question. You send in the name of the restaurant for the trivia question, and then you send in a horse to win whatever that week's race of the week is. In this case, the race of the week was the Sunshine Filly and Mares Turf Mile. There ended up being a scratch, so it was only 8 horses that ran. When you get a horse and some people pick the scratch horse, you get the post-time favorite. The post-time favorite did not win. So the winner, and this I'm kicking myself here, Lubie. I feel like Defo whining, but I was so busy with the food festival, I didn't even pay attention to the races on Saturday, and I didn't get any bets down on the feature race. There was a horse running named Sweet Danny Girl, Dani. And my daughter's best friend is Daniela, and everybody calls her Danny for short. And she's a sweet girl. She's a really nice person. She's, she went to middle school with my daughter, and I was going to throw down a few shekels on Sweet Danny Girl to win. Well, sure enough, she did win.
Oh, no.
Number 4 horse. 5 participants got both Tom's Place and the number 4 horse, Danny Girl. So they are in my Gulfstream hat.
Okay.
Right?
Nice.
And to prove it, I have their 5 slips here. I'm going to
Okay.
put this in here. We're going to shake up the hat, and we're going to draw this week's winner. And if I draw this out long enough, we can get to the playoffs. But I love, we got an hour to kill, and we have no defo. So without defo, I feel like
You have a lot more freedom.
I have to do the meandering and the filibustering. And I did enjoy talking to Defoe's friend, the Godfather.
He was
of
funny.
Fun.
Yeah, the Godfather.
He was
of
fun.
Fun.
Yeah, Dan O'Malley, nice Italian guy. No, he was an Irish lad from New Jersey, and it was good. All right, here we go. I'm going in. I'm switching around. I'm going in. I'm picking one. Which one? Oh, there's one sticking. There it is. There's this week's winner.
Okay. Let's see who it could be.
This week's winner is Maria Frandina. Maria Frandina.
Look at you. Good for you. You and a guest.
Congratulations to Maria Frandina. You are this week's winner of the Lunchbox Gulfstream 10 Palms Brunch Contest. and I will be getting in touch with you by email. Sorry to the other 4 runner-ups. You did a good job,
You're
but you didn't
still
get
alive.
lucky in the end. You still got to get lucky at the track now and then. So, Maria Franzina, you are the
Nice,
winner,
Maria.
and I'll be getting in touch by email, and then we'll figure out a date. One of our, I guess, last week's winner, uh, was going to get back to me with a date, but she wanted to know if it's okay, besides bringing the +1, that you get the free, the complimentary brunch, if she could bring more people. And of course, you can
Oh,
always bring more
addition.
people. They could add on and have a bigger group. They just have to, Gulfstream is only going to pick up the tab for 2 out
Yeah,
of however many. But last week's winner, Jan Penovich, wanted to know if she could bring a bigger group. And yes, the answer is yes.
of course.
And Joe wanted people to know is that for each additional person that comes, it's an extra, I think it's about $50 for the brunch buffet, but then they add on the tax and the gratuity. So it comes to $63.50 per person if you wanted to bring additional guests besides the 2 winners out there. So now you know everything you want to know about the Gulfstream 10 Palms brunch contest, which we love doing, and we'll be back out there again on Friday
Right.
with another edition. So okay, now on to, I've been avoiding it, but you know what, there's really no reason to avoid it. It was a great weekend of football.
Yes, the
uh,
games that seemed like they were going to be a disaster ended up being very interesting. And
I
as much
got,
as
I
we
mean,
want to talk fencing, it was a really fun weekend of super wild card action that finishes up tonight with the Bucks and the Cowboys. And our Dolphins actually were pretty impressive.
they acquitted themselves well. I could not have been more wrong about everything football this weekend. I'm right about food. I know my food. I have good taste. My palate was working. I was on point because I was aligned with what the people's choice was. But when it came to football picks, oy
Yeah,
vey,
all over the place.
I should stick with, as Sonny says, stick with poker and horses, because the football picks, although, okay, so I was completely wrong about the Dolphins because I thought they were going to be wiped out, shut out, mopped off the floor of
Yeah, they really
Buffalo.
weren't shut out.
And because I thought, they were pathetic against the Jets, barely squeaking into the playoffs against by far the worst team in the league, and they didn't look good at all. And going in with a third string
String.
quarterback, a rookie, all these things, and
Yeah,
so many injuries. They're out without their top running back, Raheem Mostert. We could go on and on. They
it
were
was all
banged
messed.
up, shook up, and my goodness, their defense actually got some turnovers. And it's amazing what happens when the turnover differential's in your favor, right? And
Yep,
all of a
yep.
sudden, it was a game, and they made it a game. They could have been a win. It was a cover. So for gamblers out there who bet the Dolphins, they were happy. But for me, my prediction, I was adamant. I was like, I wanted to bet on the Dolphins getting shut out and not scoring any offensive touchdowns and getting wiped off the face of the earth. And boy, I was just completely wrong. And now we take a step back and say a couple of things. Number one, they just match up well against Buffalo. They played Buffalo extremely well all 3 games. They ended up going 1-2, right? But they won the first one down here. They were very competitive and almost won the game in Buffalo in the middle of a snowstorm in the fourth quarter with Tua in December, correct? Am I remembering things correctly?
Tua,
And
they
then,
won at home. They went with Tua there and almost won, and it
yeah,
came down to the end.
and
Yes.
then it came down in the playoffs where they played a great game and they're in position now. All right, let's take a step back and get over all our disappointment and all that. Overall, this season, you got to say they took steps in the right direction.
Yes.
They got unlucky with the injury bug.
Yes.
Mike McDaniel, as a first-year coach, did pretty well. I mean, look, you don't like the way they finished and going 8-3 and then losing 6 straight or whatever it was, or 5 straight,
I sure.
and then winning one to go 9-8. You don't like that. You don't like the fact that Tua is now, you don't know what to do with him. Can you trust him? He's going to come back next year, but he's one hit away from maybe being out of the league. But putting all that aside, I mean, you got to say, Lubie, that you would have taken this Dolphin season as progress, even though a lot of people have some questions about McDaniel's actual play calling and game day stuff, right? Or you're one of them?
Game management, like okay, they want you can't. To me, you can't separate the fact that this team. Look, the Bills had injuries. They didn't have the same injuries. The Dolphins, if you went down, were missing their number 2 corner They were missing their number 2 safety. Their left tackle was banged up and played. They're missing their right and left guard, and they were missing their starting and backup quarterback. No team in the playoffs. I don't care about injuries. No team had that. No team. So the fact that they went and played Buffalo and really should have won the game, you have to give him credit for that. You can't just throw that away. Now, he's not Nathaniel Hackett, if you watch football, the now fired Broncos coach who just makes really stupid decisions, or Brandon Staley, the Chargers coach who makes
bad. That was a bad second half.
McDaniel isn't them, but he does do the I'm the smartest guy in the room syndrome a little too much. And that's something he has to work on. And as a first-year coach, look, you're trying to show I belong here.
Right.
Okay. At some point you have to go, look, I'm here. We're here. Now let's coach different. And he doesn't. That's the thing he has to work on is once you get there, okay, stop trying to show off. Like on 3rd and 19, when you're inside the
50, that was the play, and I was at shenanigans.
Just run.
Everybody was howling, and it was fun to watch in a group setting. And it was, it was a big, Dolphin fan crowd there at shenanigans in Dania, and I'm prone to just shouting things. It was like being in a movie theater, when some people just shout at the theater, and I was shouting at the screen because, like you said, look, McDaniel is bold. He's daring. Sometimes he keeps going for it on 4th down. But there's a time and a place, like you gotta factor in your risk-reward ratio.
Yes.
And on that play, and that was the one we're talking about, it's like 3rd and 19, where Thompson 3rd and 19, and the defense had been like not only containing, but they were performing well against the Bills offense. And that Josh Allen had several turnovers. Dolphins are almost pinned back. The prudent thing to do there is, like, you've got momentum with your defense. Just run a conservative draw play, get 5 yards, punt the ball, try to pin them down deep, and let your defense try to do their thing again. Instead, he has Skylar Thompson put up this heave on 3rd and 19. It was just all wrong. It was just the wrong, risk-reward ratio. Of course, if he hit Randall Hill, if they hit Hill, Tyreek Hill, and for a touchdown, we'd all be saying, what a brilliant move. No, but
that's a big
I still play the situation in that spot with a rookie quarterback on the road, first playoff game. You could be button down conservative there and just play for the punt and put the ball back, just let your defense try to keep doing. Instead, it's a big interception, and they end up scoring a touchdown off. You put your defense in awful position, and that was kind of the turning point of the game. Well, not the turning, but it kind of
hung in it there. The problem that then arose was, and this has been an issue for him, game management, and
they run out the clock. I mean, the delay of game was inexcusable on that.
Well, they shouldn't have had to use their timeouts. They had to use them in those exact situations. Look, you have a 3rd-string quarterback. You have a banged-up offensive line. Make sure he knows a bevy of plays. Like, you can't have him relying on, like, all game they got plays in late. He still huddled. Like, as a quarterback, you have to know, okay, if we're under 15 seconds, I don't have time to huddle. Everyone knows what the plays are. Yell it out. Get to the line. He's huddling with 15 seconds on a play clock. Then at the end of it,
disorganization, and then it just it was.
That's on the coach, and it is. You have to know that you have a 3rd-string quarterback and you have a banged up offensive line, which means you have players in positions they haven't been the entire year. So you have to make sure everything's ahead, and he wasn't. He was behind, and his excuse that, well, we thought it was 1st down. Well, you should know what down it is. Like, you're the head coach. You should know it. They were clearly short. No one thought they got the 1st down.
Right.
Even the biggest Dolphin fans knew they hadn't got the 1st down. Like, you need to have, Skylar, here's 4 plays. If I can't get them to you in time, get to the line, especially on 4th and a half a yard. Why are you even huddling? Like, what other play are you doing but a QB sneak? Like, the play that ended up getting blown up, if not for the penalty. So, like, but
it was frustrating because they were in position to win. But the fact that we're even talking about this with, like, the being frustrated, I didn't think we'd be in this position. So I was just happy it was a game, and there are no moral victories in the NFL. But this game, again, they performed really admirably, much better than anybody anticipated. And
I got the two
so
touchdowns.
now they go on to next year. And what are your thoughts? Are you bullish on them? I mean, do you like to see what, or the Tua question is nagging, or I know you're a Tua fan, or where do you stand on
But I'm
things?
realistic with it. Look, I bullish is a good term because the funny thing is Flores excited people because they would start slow and finish strong, but they always looked off on offense. The defense yesterday, the Bills were able to move the ball, but you saw what could be with a healthy Bradley Chubb, with a healthy Jalen Phillips, with a healthy Christian Wilkins. They were able to really get after Allen, and they blitzed, but they didn't have to blitz ad nauseum. And that's something you're hoping to get from this team. And it's like, okay, maybe we'll get there going forward. They need to be healthy. And I don't know how you make that happen in the NFL. Like people are injured. It's what happens across the league. But the defense, the secondary was injured the entire year, and you can't have that. And you have to have Cater Kohu. Look, he played admirably as an undrafted free agent. He actually played pretty well. He can't start for you. Like even with injuries, he's got to be your nickel or your fourth corner. Like you have to have more depth. But I have a lot more excitement at the end of this season than I've had in the look. The last two
Right.
times they
You
got
have
routed. They were in
Yeah.
that game. Like they were down 17-0, and you could have given up. And I was ready to switch the channel, and they hung around, and that's impressive. And I think they'll grow. It's
Right. They're
can
heading in the right direction. It's just you still have some
what do
questions
you do with Tua?
about
Yeah, what do you
quarterback,
do?
and you need some better luck, and you need some, again, better in-game decision making, coaching.
Yes, late in
But
games.
they're there. I'd rather be the Dolphins now than a lot of other teams. So it's we'll see what the future brings. And um, hey, we need to take our last break, but first we got to talk
Yes,
about Visit Lauderdale. The
yes.
organization I ran into, Stacy Ritter, out at the big food
I
festival,
saw Nikki
and
Friday,
I
and she
saw
was
Nikki on
fine.
Friday, and it's great to see them. And we're going to be doing another Visit Lauderdale remote show coming up soon, trying to figure out the particulars, but might be in conjunction with the Lunar New Year, which is celebrated by Chinese restaurants and
Nice.
other Asian restaurants, but going to try to go to a Chinese restaurant, which is always a big topic of discussion on the 96,000 strong Let's Eat South Florida group. But yeah, Visit Lauderdale wants to welcome everybody to Fort Lauderdale, the foodies, the cocktail connoisseurs, craft beer aficionados, because we welcome everyone under the sun with
That's what's
every
great about the festival.
flavor.
It's like everyone, when you hear about South Florida, you say Miami, right? Because Miami has the food and the drink. Like that's not true. Fort Lauderdale shows out really well when it comes to food and
Oh,
drinks.
so much diversity, and it's not all the high-end stuff for the 1%. I mean, you got for all different socioeconomic background, all you go up into along the 441 corridor, Central
Yes.
Broward,
Even
got
out
all those good
west.
Caribbean joints, all the things out west. Oh, I was pleased to see out there our friends from Bravo Peruvian Kitchen, where we did a show out in your neck of the woods on Coral Springs. And they were there, and they did some of their traditional dishes, the seco de res, which is a beef stew, which was good on a nice cool day. And they also had their pulpo. They had the octopus causa of the whipped
That was
potatoes with the black olive sauce. That made it onto my judge's ballot. I thought it was fantastic. So again, so much diversity here, and it's the place you want to have, friends, family. Come on down. Greater Fort Lauderdale welcomes everyone under the sun with every flavor under the sun. There are more than 4,000 restaurants in the greater Fort Lauderdale area. We're proud to showcase it, and you want to have them come down here and check out things that like dining on the intracoastal, outdoor waterfront dining
the
along the
weather's been
beach.
spectacular.
It's been spectacular weather. Can't get any better. You got the places along Las Olas Boulevard. My daughter went with her friend last night because it's the holiday weekend. They drove up there, took their own hard-earned money, and went to Casa Sansai, is one of those places that's nice on Las Olas. It's on a canal, and you take a few steps down and you feel removed from the hustle and bustle. And that's also one of these interesting places. It's a fusion place of kind of um, Asian and Peruvian, Latin,
Nice.
South American, because down in Peru there's a lot of influence of Japanese and Chinese. And my daughter had a kimchi fried rice there, along with some other of the Latin American dishes with her friend, and they had a great time at Casa Sansa. It's just the kind of diversity you find down here, along with top award-winning chefs like
Yeah.
Timon Baloo and his wife. They did a nice, successful dinner for the food festival at the Catherine restaurant. That's got such great buzz. So come check it out. And of course, there's things at the nightlife, the entertainment, the Ale Trail, Visit Lauderdale Ale Trail,
The
the cocktail,
breweries. which we have.
breweries, the speakeasies, the rooftop bars, which was put on display. It's all here. So check it all out. Tell everybody you know, come on down, check out Greater Fort Lauderdale. And for all the latest information, promotions, and events coming up, go to visitlauderdale.com.
And stick with us on this Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We're going to have more of Mike Mayo's Lunchbox after this.
Looking for a great place for steaks, seafood, and more? Go to Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of I-95 and the airport. They've been there a long time, since 1949. That means they're doing something right. You'll get old school hospitality from the Studiali family, along with great value, tremendous service. Of course, you could also go into the bar for happy hour every day, 4 to 6. The early bird special runs from 4:30 to 5:30, and they have great value all night long. Also, a butcher shop that's open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sunday. The dining room is open every day at 4:30 except Sunday. Go to Tropical Acres. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. Hey, it's Mike Mayo. When the Brooklyn boy in me wants a good bagel with Nova or some matzo ball soup, homemade knishes, or a great deli pastrami sandwich on rye, you know where I go? Grandpa's Cafe in Dania Beach. It's been around a long time, an institution, but a little over a year ago, a pair of New Yorkers came in, bought it, and refurbished the place. It's beautiful, and they are now serving great breakfast, brunch, lunch. They've got the omelets, they've got eggs Benedict, they've got all kinds of great baked goods like rugelach. Grandpa's is just off Federal Highway on Southwest 1st Street in Dania Beach. It's open 7 days. Go in there, tell them that the Lunchbox sent you. When I'm looking for some wicked good food for a wicked good lunch, there's only one place to go. That's Wicked Cheesesteaks in Fort Lauderdale. It's at 4824 North Federal Highway, just south of Commercial Boulevard and across from Holy Cross Hospital. My friend Brian there, he will hook you up with some really tasty treats. They've got cheesesteaks, just like the best you can find in Philly, along with lobster rolls, because that's where he's from, Maine originally, and they have wings and pizza and everything you want to have a really good time. Wicked Cheesesteaks, they're open every day but Tuesday. Go in there on a Wednesday. They got buy one, get one on cheesesteaks from 5 to 8 p.m. Check them out online, wickedcheesesteaks.com. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. You like pizza? Who doesn't like pizza? Well, my spot for pizza is the Pizza Spot. It's in that little bit hard to find Riverside Park neighborhood of Fort Lauderdale, but it's totally easy to love. It's at 601 Southwest 12th Avenue, New Haven style, a pizza from Wade and Reese. It's a lovely outdoor spot. You could also pick up pies to go at 754-779-7788, 754-779-7788. Again, they're open every day but Monday for lunch and dinner. Some of the best pizza I've ever had. Go to Pizza Spot. They also have subs, salads, and more. Tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you. If you like seafood in a comfortable setting, outdoors, even keel fish shack at the corner of A1A and Commercial Boulevard in Lauderdale by the Sea, that's my spot. It's upscale food in a down-home setting. The chef owners, Dave and Brad, do a terrific job with all the seafood classics that you want. They have the best grilled oysters in town, bang bang shrimp, lobster rolls, and deli fish specials. They also have weekend brunch Saturday and Sunday. They have deli happy hour 4 to 7, and they also have other weekly specials like mussels on Monday and oysters on Tuesday. Go to Even Keel Fish Shack and tell them that the Lunchbox sent you. We're back on a Monday, a holiday Monday, and we were talking some football, Dolphins. So just to put a bow on the first weekend of the NFL playoffs, they were all good games. I think they all hit the over. And we've also learned, not only was I horrendously wrong about the Dolphins, I was horrendously wrong about everything, because I know you guys were talking, going into the weekend about a 16 parlay. What are the odds on, and this is, again, for the degenerates out there in our audience.
I think we were getting 48 to 1.
48 to 1, where if you pick all 6 games against the spread and you go 6-0, you will get 48 times whatever you wager. So if you put $10 down, you get $480.
We're going to do
$100 down,
2,500 or something.
Okay.
If we had hit, which we wouldn't.
I came up with a ticket for you guys because, sometimes I am the king of prognostication. In this case, though, I was the anti-king, whatever you call it. If you did the reverse Mayo, okay. Here's the I put it on their the message board on their morning show on Friday. I said that my parlay ticket was, and this is against the spread. Remember, so I
Yes.
picked Seattle,
Wrong.
getting the points. I picked Seattle, the Chargers, Buffalo, Minnesota, Cincinnati, and Tampa Bay. So right now, if you did the reverse
Yes,
Mayo,
Cincinnati.
you would be
Oh, the
five.
Ravens covered, actually, I guess.
Yeah, the Ravens covered. The mine was 8 or 8.5. So since they did not cover, it was a win, no cover.
Oh,
So
my God.
right now, if you picked my picks, you'd be 0-5. But if you did the reverse Mayo parlay, you'd be 5-0. And I picked on my ticket, I picked Tampa Bay tonight, which means Dallas is a lock of the century. That means if you did the reverse Mayo, you'd be going in tonight with Dallas for a chance to win 48-1 on your money, 5-0, and then you'd be able to hedge and just put some on money on the game. So that's that. All right, I guess that's gonna wrap it up in terms of. Do I have to do anything else today? I don't even know.
We've hit everything. We've done everything. I hope everyone enjoyed the visit.
Yeah, I
Lot-
didn't talk about some of the big posts on Let's Eat over the weekend. The big salad substitution post. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Let's do that
Did you
tomorrow.
see that one? That's like the woman. They went into some restaurant. They asked them to hold a couple of items and then to add a couple, like some fruit or something. And the restaurant just said no. And then she was griping about it, and people just went nuts on it because that's easy. And it's like, why don't you stay home and make your own salad? This is not a salad bar. It's not a build your own salad. It's a restaurant with a menu. And like
Tuesdays.
So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. And I also just want to give props again to Shenanigans now, the one and only 1300 South Federal Highway. Great place to watch all the playoff games or any game. I had a patty melt there. I love their burgers there.
Oh,
the
good.
straight-up
We were
burgers.
there the last time someone was eating that. That looked
Yeah,
really good.
me and my buddy Scott, we had some beers. I started with a Bloody Mary. It was excellent. We got some wings instead of my usual blackened grilled ones, which are dry rub. This time we got the Jamaican jerk wings. They were saucy, but they were delicious. We got some wings, and then I did a split of patty melt on the rye bread with the melted Swiss and the grilled onions. Oh my God, it was so good. So props to everybody out there at Shenanigans. Andre, the manager, thanks for taking care of us. And of course, the great servers, Riley in Atlanta. They do a great job. It's a great place to go catch all the games. Shenanigans, 1300 South Federal Highway in my town, Dania Beach. All right, now you can play the music. And thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. And yeah, this past weekend, I finished up National Pizza Week. Sarni will be happy to know the over-under was 12. My final number was 14. I had an extra leftover slice from Concadoro on Saturday, along with a square slice from the not-so-good pizzeria at the Hard Rock Food Court on Saturday night. But I got over the hump. The line was 12. I was like every other game this week, I hit the over. I hit 14. All right, Lubie, thanks. It was great seeing you and Cheryl's out at the barbecue battle the other night. Hopefully, Defo gets better soon, and we'll have him and his dulcet tones back on the lunchbox tomorrow. Until then, everybody, enjoy the rest of the day, the holiday, and give thanks for MLK and what he's done for us and advancing all the good causes of righteousness and justice in this country. Until tomorrow, it's Mike Mayo from Mike Lubie Lubitz saying, enjoy every sandwich.